Police departments show an apparent drop in violent crime citywide in the month of July. CPD reports 44 July homicides, which is down 35% from July of last year. So far this year, the department reports a total of 237 homicides. That's down 32% over the first 7 months of 2024. It is the lowest number of homicides at this point in the year since 2014.
That's interesting. Look at the chart from 2013 to 2023. Many crimes had doubled more than a decade ago. Now it all of a sudden dropped to the lowest ever seen. Then we see from 2012 to 2023, despite increasing violent crimes, arrest rates fall. Yes, fall. Look at the arrest in the dark gray compared to the violent crimes committed. In 2024, all these crimes was reported and much more than what you see here. Then in 2025, all of the illegals turned angelic because you can barely find a crime report. Yes, I said it again, reported on them. The title of this post is Reported Crime is Down. Not that story they are talking about stating crime is down. Not in Chicago. Playing our intelligence is an insult and disgraceful. We know why the crime is supposedly down. The police are demanded to stand down against illegal migrants and also many of the team violence. But don't be black and expect Johnson is going to stop crime. That's how he makes his living. You know, the Lyndon B. Johnson style.
So happy to take any questions.
Governor, today in the Oval Office, the president mentioned your name several times. He blamed you for crime in Chicago, said this is all your fault. In response to that?
Well, appreciate his recognizing that Chicago actually has had a drop in crime significantly, in fact, in halves in the last 4 years. And we've had a murder rate that's dropped by 37% just in the last year. We're very pleased about the progress that we're making, and I wish he would spend some time in Chicago so that he could see what a lovely city we have.
Governor, quick follow-up. What do you do if the National Guard is activated and comes here? Can you take preemptive action? What happens?
Look, first thing we're going to do is take him to court because it's illegal, it's unconstitutional. Frankly, it's un-American to send troops into an American city the way that he wants to fight crime. There is literally a law in the books that says he's not allowed to do that.
How convenient.
Having military members deployed in Chicago might seem shocking. It has happened before and not too long ago.
However, our Sabrina Franza found there is one big difference this time.
Think about what all three of these events have in common. The DNC last year, the protests in the wake of George Floyd's death in 2020, and the DNC in 1968. In all three cases, local leaders called the National Guard here. That's not what's happening right now. Take a listen to what Richard Daley said back in 1968 when he asked for some extra help.
Those reports of intelligence on my desk that certain people planned to assassinate the three contenders for the presidency.
At the time, Chicago was preparing for 200,000 demonstrators. An estimated 5,000 showed up. In 2020, former Mayor Lori Lightfoot asked for the National Guard herself. Protests across the city became too much for CPD to handle alone. Lightfoot said then it was a decision she did not come to lightly, nor was it something she did without speaking to top CPD brass.
This wasn't an easy decision. I did it at the request of and in consultation with Superintendent Brown, but it's surely the right decision in this moment.
Last year, Governor Pritzker also called for help ahead of last year's convention. He made a point to say the Guard would support CPD. They did not actively police or patrol. We've seen them at tourist hotspots in D.C., but it remains to be seen what exactly will happen if the National Guard is deployed to Chicago.
We spend millions to protect Harris for the DNC, but not for the citizens.
So we're going to stand against that. We're going to make sure that he's held accountable for that. And most importantly, he should know that there is no emergency in the city of Chicago. I think you can see what a lovely place this is. I just walked on the lakefront this morning and walked to dinner last night with my wife.
Lakefront and
yes,
with security.
Like other major cities across the United States, there is crime. But indeed, it is dropping precipitously in the city of Chicago, and it's in part because of the work that we're doing at the local level. If he wasn't taking away funding for police, if he wasn't taking away funding for fighting crime, things would be even easier. But unfortunately, he is creating a challenge for all of us in defunding police.
Governor, has there been any communication with the DOD or with the administration since that report Saturday? The president even hinted that maybe he would seek your cooperation in this, and then he kind of reversed that.
Well, strangely, the president seems afraid of me.
Afraid of what?
And won't call. So I have not heard from the president, haven't heard from Secretary Hegseth, haven't heard from anybody from the administration about what their plans are. We only read about it in the Washington Post and understand that they have some plan that they've been putting together. So we're making sure that we're prepared, that we're ready to go to court, and that we're pushing back on the narrative that he has that somehow there is a problem in the city of Chicago that is worse than other cities across the country. Let me add one more thing. Very pleased that we're beating the rest of the major cities across the country, and that things are so much better in the city. The president ought to do a little reading so that he understands the progress that we've made and the fact that we do not need troops on the streets of the city of Chicago. We're going to make sure that they know, that the court knows and understands that there is no cause for this, that there is no emergency, there is no law in the books that allows him to put federalized troops on the streets of the city of Chicago. That's what we're going to do to begin with. But I think all of you being here is helpful for us, making sure that you can see that what a great city we really have and that there is no emergency here. That's important for all of you to recognize and to report on. There's not an emergency. There is crime like there is in other cities, but ours is actually better than the other major cities.
Our crime is better?
I have to give you the opportunity to respond to some of the personal attacks we heard in the Oval Office. He called you incompetent. We talked about your weight. What's your response to the president?
Well, from my perspective, it takes one to know one on the weight question.
At this point, I muted this male who is hurling more insults as if he were in grade school. He lacks professionalism at getting his points across and wasting my seconds with more lies. Moving on.
Governor, is this punishment for being a sanctuary city?
Do
you think this is punishment for being a sanctuary city?
Well, let me be clear. The President of the United States doesn't even understand what that term means. And I'm very pleased that we have a safe city that is protective of all of our residents, the people who are following the law, people who are paying their taxes, people that are our friends and our neighbors. And again, if he is to live up to his promise, what he ought to be doing is allowing us to prosecute people who actually commit crimes. And if they are undocumented, we would keep them in prison for whatever term they are committed to, and then deport them. We've asked for that. That doesn't seem to be what this president wants to do. He just wants to pick people up off the streets without warrants and toss them out of the country. Some of them even have been U.S. citizens. You ought to look to the red states where they've got higher crime rates than the state of Illinois.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you in the press.
Scott Dunn, this amendment was first discussed back in September of 2023. That's when Chicago was seeing busloads of migrants pour into the city. What this amendment to the Welcoming City Ordinance would do is loosen restrictions for city agencies to work with federal partners when it comes to dealing with undocumented criminals.
Chicago will remain a welcoming city. What we're saying is that those immigrants that commit a crime when you are here, you're not welcome anymore.
Council members Silvana Tabarez and Ray Lopez say this amendment to the Welcoming City Ordinance would make all of Chicago safer. It would allow city agencies to work with ICE agents when it comes to finding non-citizens who are committing crimes. And in turn, federal authorities wouldn't have to scour neighborhoods looking for the bad apples. With President Trump's second term about to begin, the threat of mass deportations have been prominent. But Councilmember Tabarez says this proposal doesn't have a connection to the incoming administration, but more to do with the influx of migrants.
All the residents in Chicago, they have sacrificed services and their tax dollars to appease and accommodate migrants and their advocates. And it's time now to say that we're not going to, they shouldn't tolerate living in an unsafe neighborhood. We should make our neighborhood safer.
In the wake of Adam Toledo's death, the I-Team requested ShotSpotter data from Chicago's Office of Emergency Management. We examined thousands of shooting alerts to understand how often they send police into South and West Side neighborhoods searching for suspects. This sound is what ShotSpotter recorded on March 29th, about 2:30 in the morning. Chicago police say this fuzzy surveillance video shows 21-year-old Ruben Roman firing a handgun. ShotSpotter detected it and alerted police.
I think that illustrates for people in the city just how aggressively the police respond to ShotSpotter alerts and how dangerous these situations can become, how quickly they can escalate.
ShotSpotter is an audio gunfire detection technology deployed on Chicago's south and west sides, listening around the clock for apparent gunfire.
It tracks exactly with the racial divide in the city.
Police surveillance technology expert Jonathan Manas analyzed the last 22 months of Chicago ShotSpotter data and says he's concerned about the high number of times police are rushed to majority Black and Latinx neighborhoods chasing ShotSpotter alerts.
If everybody in the city was dealing with that kind of police presence, they would be really concerned. And it's not okay that only people who live in Black and brown neighborhoods have to deal with this.
Through the Freedom of Information Act, the I-Team obtained and analyzed the more than 37,000 ShotSpotter alerts recorded in Chicago since January 2020. Our data investigation reveals that in more than 32,000 of those incidents, when the system apparently detected gunfire, police responded but didn't report a crime. That's 86% of the time.
Police go out and find nothing. They find no evidence of crime, nothing they even have to report. This was pretty shocking to us.
Officers have found nothing, not guns, no criminals, no anything.
The Chicago Police 1863 TAC team has now been accused in multiple lawsuits of making illegal and racist pretextual stops, handcuffing drivers and searching their vehicles without permission and operating with little to no consequences. The plaintiff in the latest case telling the I-Team he feared for his life.
So I was just terrified. Honestly, I didn't know what was going to happen next.
36-year-old Lamoris Bell says he had no idea why police were pulling him over last September while he was driving to pick up his date in the Gold Coast.
Can I ask why I got pulled up? Not wearing your seatbelt, no turn signal, okay? I got a seatbelt, what you? I don't consent to no searches or seizures.
Despite not consenting to any searches, less than a minute after he was pulled over, officers were searching his vehicle.
Y'all scaring me, man.
And Bell was in handcuffs.
I had real bad anxiety, so I was, shaking up real bad, and they was like using my anxiety as guilt or something like that.
After searching his car and finding nothing illegal, Bell was free to leave. Speaking with the I-Team, Bell says the department has to end its use of pretextual traffic stops. Stops turn searches stemming from minor traffic violations.
I felt violated and scared. Like, to this day, I'm scared of the police, because I feel like they just so unpredictable.
It's impossible to dispute that the reason they pulled Lamoris over is because he was a black man and he was in this fancy car that they think is used by people with guns.
This week, Bell filed a lawsuit against Chicago police and the 18th District Tactical Team of officers that pulled him over.
We need to have police officers who follow the rules and who have the trust of the community.
Get out of the car. The I-Team has previously reported on this team of officers that's faced dozens of complaints and multiple lawsuits over its tactics. Chicago police would not comment on the pending litigation or this specific stop, but in a statement, a spokesperson told us the Chicago Police Department has been working to ensure traffic stops are used effectively for public safety. Superintendent Snelling has been clear about his commitment to implementing a new traffic stop policy that is rooted in constitutional policing.
The police need better training on things they can and can't do during a traffic stop. I feel like they go out there and just do whatever they want to do, like they're above the law.
But in a letter addressed to the agency leadership nearly 3 months later, Superintendent Snelling referenced the 18th District letter and requested that, per city rules, all further communication go through him rather than directly with district leadership. The Chicago Police Department declined our request for an interview. In a statement, a spokesperson said, in part, traffic stops are only conducted when there is reasonable articulable suspicion that a person is committing, is about to commit, or has committed a criminal offense.
It's not the whole department. It's not even most of the department. In fact, here, it is, I think there is a clear problem with the 18th District, and obviously a clear problem with 1863.
After so many years of talk about reform and oversight, we have Chicago police officers who are still doing things in the old ways.
The Chicago Police Department told us all members of the 1863 Tactical Team are still on the police force.
The ACLU reported The number of traffic stops has grown astronomically in recent years, from fewer than 90,000 in 2015 to more than 500,000 in 2022 and 2023. Data shows that since 2016, Black drivers in Chicago have been 4 to 7 times more likely than white drivers to be stopped by police. Latino drivers have been twice as likely to be stopped as white drivers. The data presented also shows Chicago police are also far more likely to search Black and Latino drivers and their vehicles, even though the police often have higher rates of finding illegal contraband in the vehicles of white drivers.
I have been a sheriff for 23 years. Most of my friends are Chicago cops. We are ordered to fudge statistics. You could say it's not us. It is not us.
What about our real estate? Because, see, we paid for these properties for a purpose and not for you to go touching it with $300 million that you want to siphon out of the citizens' pockets. Get rid of the illegals, and that'll take your money right back. Start it off with that.
In the letter calling for the special meeting, the only item up today for consideration is item number 02024-0013679. and ordinance authorizing the fiscal year 2025 property tax levy. There are 0 nays, 50 nays. This matter has been voted down. Alderman Mitchell on a motion to adjourn.
We, the citizens, did that. If you want to be notified of more findings, subscribe and make sure to like and share this post, which helps to get the message spread around. Also, add your comments. We want to hear from you. Check out our other videos.